is she's currently teaching wind methods and graduate music education courses at Southern Methodist University. She also served as the wind pedagogy specialist for the Berkner area in Richardson ISD. She grew up in Michigan and attended the University of Michigan, where she studied with Clifford Lilia and Elizabeth Green and performed for 4 years under the baton of William Ravelli. She received her master's degree in music education from Vandercook College of Music. And in July of 2010, Jackson was awarded the Meritorious Award, Achievement Award by the Texas Bandmasters Association. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you all to Miss Lynne Jackson.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. I'm happy to be here. It's so nice of you to do this. Are you recording this, Greg?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just kept saying recording, and then, you know, technology is my friend. And hi, Darlene. It's so nice to be here. Um, I um, I love talking about the subject that I'm going to talk about the common things about teaching instruments, so that um, we can think about. We don't have to think like, oh, this is how you teach this instrument. This is how you teach this instrument. There's so many things that are shared between them, and that's what my presentation is about. Do I have about 50 minutes or? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Good. Okay. So one of the main things that I'm using is a handout that you have called Our David's Move. And so and you don't necessarily need to look at it, but I'm just letting you know that I'm sort of basing it all outline on this. And so um, all instruments basically work the same. I mean, let's think about it. Number one, something vibrates. That's how your voice is an instrument. The piano is an instrument. The violin is an instrument. The trumpet is an um, something vibrates, and then something has to initiate the vibration, right? So, in with our voice, it's air. With wind instruments, it's air. String instruments, a bow, and so on and so on, and a reed for the reed instruments. So something has to make something vibrate. Next, something has to collect the vibrations. So I have several instruments here today. So the mouthpiece collects the vibrations, and the resonator, and then something resonates. And this is the resonator, the trumpet. There we go, right there. All right, the trumpet. So that's how all instruments work. And if you can pare it down to those ideas right there, that can lead you to some conclusions about instruments, especially when you're working with kids. Because when you're working with kids, you have to make decisions about to give them information. The decisions that you make um, basically means the information needs to be correct. And that's, I think, where I think I can help you a little bit today, because I think sometimes there's some information that I think is correct and some that I think is not correct. And I'll tell you these are my beliefs today. And I change my beliefs all the time, and you should too if you're a really good teacher. Um, so that's how instruments work. All right, now we're going to talk about wind instruments today. So basically, I have I I will talk about faces in a minute. But to me, I develop four things from the beginning with my students. Number one, the body. I think that so often we forget about what the body should look like and where it should be when we play an instrument correctly. I see it all the time. Why do I see it? Because I teach with my eyes. That's what I teach with. I'm always looking at my students. Do you look like you should look? All right? Now, if you take the David, for example, Michelangelo saw David inside one piece of marble. It wasn't put together. It was one piece of marble, and he chipped away day after day, and he took away everything that was not David. That's what we do. Our kids come in, they're little blocks of people, okay? and we're going to make a trumpet player out of them, or we're going to make a percussionist out of them, we're going to make a saxophone player out of them. And so we chip away day after day. How are we different than David? How are kids different than David? Our Davids move. They move around. They wiggle. They do this thing where they flip their arms like this. That's trumpet class for me. Anyway, our Davids move. So we have to be, and our bodies move. Our bodies move in so many different ways. All right? We can move our arms like this. We can move our arm like this. We can move it 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 like this. There's all these parts that move independently. That's the first thing I show them. I show them how we can do, and I use what I call the sneak attack teaching method. I don't explain much to them. I say, do this. Do this. Do this. Okay. And I really love that method because it's not, I think once we start explaining too deeply about something, they stop listening. I'm 77 years old. I do the same thing. All right. I stop listening sometimes. All right. Now, so that's what I do. But in the beginning, I want to set their bodies. Now, I'm just going to do from the waist up right now because I'm sitting down, but I have my feet shoulder width apart. I'm going to take my shoulders, and if we can all do this together, I'm going to bring them up like this. And I'm going to feel my spine get tall. Then I'm going to drop them and keep my spine tall. Already, I feel different than I did before I did that. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower my head. And the head, to me, is the most important thing of all. I'm going to raise it until it feels weightless on my body. Now, this is usually where I yawn, so let's all yawn. Now, I want you to put your chin down just a little bit like this, and I want you to yawn. That's a profoundly different feeling. So this is what I care about so much in the beginning. Where does our head go? We have to be able to take air in and blow it out freely. Now, are we taking it in and blowing it out? No, we're not. But that's going to be right for me from the beginning. I'm not going to fix it later because you don't fix it later. This is where when we're standing or sitting, our head is where we would yawn. Let's all do this together. Make a turtleneck here with your hand. Put your tongue down behind your teeth and just breathe over your tongue and blow. No tension right here. All right? Yawn. You feel a little bit of tension because you move your tongue. All right? Now, put your head down like this. Breathe over your tongue and blow. Such a different feeling. That's obstructed, in my opinion. This is not obstructed where my head floats freely on top of my body. I also tell them to sit or stand like you're being measured for your height. You wouldn't be measured for your height with your head here. You would have it up here. So I use that also. So the body is very important to me. And I'm developing that from the beginning. I'm just getting them to look like the musician that they should be from the beginning, not later. All right, that's number one for me. All right, now number two. Number two, and the most important thing I do in their first year is give them the face with a future. A face, that's not my saying, that's Deborah Haberay's saying. I will always say it though because it's brilliant and it is. I got a face with a future in 5th grade. I was so lucky because my teacher was a trumpet player and he knew how to make me write. I got the face with a future. That's why I'm sitting here today. I imagine that if I was really poor at it, maybe not, but I wouldn't have liked it nearly as much. But I could play anything I wanted by 8th grade. And so that's my goal. So let me say a few things about embouchures now. All right, this is the general umbrella. All right, take your fingers and put them right here and say E. Now when you say that, you see what happens here? Now say bad. Now ooh. Good. Okay, so the first rule of my embouchure list is number one, we must develop the muscles closest to the air, the muscles that surround the air. Number two, both, the exception here is double reeds, and so this, just put that on the shelf for a minute and think about all other instruments. Number two, both lips should be visible. All right, think about it. Not on bassoon, not on oboe necessarily, but on saxophone, do I want to see both lips? Yes, I do. Clarinet? Yes, I do. Do I want that bottom lip all the way in their mouth? No. And it's usually because they have an E instead of an oo. That's usually why it is. So E, oo, and we want to see both lips. Now, I want the lips in general, especially for trumpet and flute. I want the lips to be even, so the teeth have to be even. So right from the start, I teach my kids how to glide their jaw. So take your finger and make it really straight, put it below your bottom lip, and move your finger out and back, forward and back with your jaw. Now, some kids have a real big hard time doing that. I even have students here. I'm teaching here in my house this summer, private teaching lessons, and even some adults have trouble going ooh and moving that. But this evenness is very important, and I'm going to bring that up. It's very important on clarinet too. It's really important on clarinet. But on trumpet, yes, because trumpet has I saw. I really want to meet Bennett because everything he said, I loved it. All right, and but on trumpet, we have pretty much this is coming in straight. All right, now on clarinet, it's like this, right? On flute, we'll get to flute. That's a different beast, all right? But I want this to be even. So what am I looking for in a trumpet player? Because I think trumpet probably challenges more than most other instruments. I'm looking for a straight line from corner to corner in a straight line across the lips, like mine. Now, do you have to look like that? No. But if you do look like that and your teeth are fairly even, your chances of being successful on trumpet multiply. And I know that I tell the kids, one size does not fit all. I ask them, what size shoe do you wear? They'll say a 5.5. I say, what if I gave you an 8? Could you wear that shoe? And they say, no, I can't wear it. It doesn't fit you. And I always tell them that I'm going to be really honest with them. Now, on French horn, we have much more of an angle. So if the teeth aren't as even, that's better. Even if so the overbite really has a lot to do with the instrument. So we have to sculpt. I'll say to teachers, oh, you're not sculpting these kids enough. We have to sculpt them. We have to get their faces to be like where they need to be to play, and their heads and their bodies. And I honestly feel like we don't attend to that successfully in most instances. All right, so the other thing is the bottom lip remains in front of the bottom teeth and the top lip remains in front of the top teeth. That's true on flute, although the flutes blow away from their teeth, but their flute bottom lip is always in front of their teeth and the top lip in front of the top teeth. Always. That's number 3. The top lip comes down. Okay, this lip in most instruments, when you think like they'll say it's in saxophones, I want your face to be long. In flute, I want your face to be long. My teacher, Claire Johnson, would say, I want lots of vertical space in here. Pull your top lip down. When people say, pull your teeth apart, I don't like that. I really don't like it. I just say, can you create more space like this way inside your mouth? There you go. And make your lips stay in front. I do some of these exercises with them before they ever have the instruments. I try to make things feel familiar as I teach along. I don't want, oh, today we have this brand new concept, and all of a sudden they go, oh my gosh. It's freaking me out. I like to show them little things like this gliding thing, so that if I ask them, okay, let me show you another one. If I saw a bear, I would probably do this. All right, let's all do that. It's a bear. Now, and what I see with a lot of in trumpet and trombone especially, and maybe in other instruments too, they will this is coming at them this way, and they go and they pull that head back. Relax your head. Good. Let it float on top of your body. And I teach them that before they ever touch the instrument, so that I have language that I can use quickly and effectively and keep my class rolling. Classroom management is number 2. I want a class that I tell them, I say, now, if you have a question, before you raise your hand, or you will not blurt out, by the way, but before you raise your hand, I want to see if you can figure out the answer on your own. I want you to see if you can maybe look at me or look at one of your classmates and see what they're doing and try to figure it out without having to ask. So everything about what I do, I mean, I've done it a long time. You said I taught 40, I'm in 57 next year, 57 years. But I try to minimize any kind of kerfuddle, that's going to happen in my classroom. I just try to minimize it. And I tell them about the word observe. I want you to become observant. And then I will say, okay, observe. I'm going to have the straw here. All right, here it is right here, the straw. And I teach them to hold it with the thumb and 2 fingers like a sort of a trombone, 2/3 of the way down. And I just say, observe. I'm going to put this straw over my tongue. I'm going to stick my tongue out a little bit. I'm going to keep my face natural. I'm going to close my top lip down because I want my bottom lip here. This is one thing you'll see. It's because we're teaching this instead of this. All right? So I'm always sculpting. And they all have mirrors too, so I can show them they can look in their mirrors, or I can show them in a mirror. Because just telling them, that's not going to do it. They've got to see it. Kids are visual learners. We are visual learners. We are, as adults, are visual learners. So here we go, like, top lip comes down. A long top lip on flute, saxophone, clarinet. You always see this very long here. And you notice that my rule is anytime I see this, it's wrong. It's wrong. That's right. All right, so if you see a bassoon player going, it's not right. And so you can say, oh, they sound so good. I don't care. They've got to look right. And honestly, if they don't sound good, but they're playing and they look right, I will 99.9% of the time, they'll end up sounding right. I believe that firmly. All right, so the corners are always positioned toward the ear. The tongue, a huge, huge muscle. All right, it gets tight really easy. So every instrument except for clarinet, the tongue is down and forward. Ah. I say ah. Let's all say ah. Ah. Now blow over your ah. Let your teeth lightly touch behind your bottom teeth. All right. Now put your hand here and do it. Now tighten your tongue. Feel that? Feel all the tension there? And you say, oh, relax your throat. It's not your throat. It's your tongue. 9 times out of 10. The tongue is the devil. Now, what about clarinets? Clarinets raise the back of their tongue, but their tongue needs to be relaxed. Either I like he or key, and then I heard C. I like C also because C, the tongue is more flat on the top. I just learned that from Dr. Pinky. Does anybody know Dr. Pinky? She was over at my house, and it was incredible. So she uses C, and so that the sides of her tongue touch the sides of her teeth. Something to think about. And don't dismiss any ideas. You can do that, but not only after you've really explored them. All right, and then my other thing is that the students must look natural when they play. when I play my instrument, I should look like this. I shouldn't have some weird, creepy face going on. All right, so those are my rules for the face. Now, Bennett, man, he was doing some really great stuff there with the brass, but I'm not going to go into it real deeply, but I want to go into flute a little bit more. But you had Ebony too, though, right? Yeah, she's amazing. All right, but I want to sort of apply these premises to the embouchures, okay? And so with brass, um, how do you fix it? I guess I can talk a lot about that. How do you fix it? You know? So let's just take our finger and just touch our lip and feel our teeth behind it. All right, now touch your bottom lip and feel your teeth behind that. Good. Now bring your top lip down and close. Now feel your lips on your teeth. All right, good. Now, there's something that I left out about all instruments. All instruments, they vibrate, they resonate. The resonator collects the vibration, something makes the vibration, but there's one more thing that they have to have in order to vibrate, and that is resistance. There has to be resistance. When air overcomes resistance, vibration will occur. Now, this is obvious. What's holding the reed in place? The ligature. The ligature is creating the resistance. And of course, there's resistance here also, where we're setting this up. So I want you to look and see how, I told you about this being, I called it the wall. Let's make the wall here. Take your finger and feel your top lip, then feel your bottom lip, and make them even. That's a wall. This works. So if you've got kids who can't play high, do this. All right, because their top teeth are ahead of their bottom teeth, and it's not going to work. They've got to do this. This for clarinet too. Darlene, do you agree with me on this? That we have to. This has to be more even here. Yeah. And that's one of the big problems with clarinet. That's why they're going to end up doing that. They've got to get this even, then lay it on their bottom lip, and look where eye corners are. They're not like this. They're like this. Could you hear that? Oh, that's pretty cool. Boy, I'm a lot more relaxed now knowing all that. Okay, so notice that I didn't pull back here. Now, there used to be a school of clarinet playing where they did that. And I remember, but I think nowadays, when I look at Greg Radin at the Dallas Symphony, he is so is crazy. And those clarinets really sound good in the symphony. Go to the symphony if you want to learn how instruments should sound. You got to know how they should sound. We can't teach sounds if we don't know how they should sound. And, we know what the batting average is of the first baseman player of the Texas Rangers, but we don't know how a French horn sounds. We need to get tickets for the symphony as well. I thought that was funny, but I know you can't laugh about that. But I mean, these guys, they pay all this money to go to games, stars, but they don't go hear a symphony orchestra. And then I say, how should a French horn sound? And that's quite a discussion that we have. All right, that's one of the harder ones, I think. It's just really understanding with all of this, the hand and everything, how that should sound. All right, so something has to be something has to be a ligature. Okay, so do we have a ligature on brass? We sure do. So this is how I have my whiteboard here today from COVID, and this is what I'm looking for. Oh gosh. much. Okay, hang on. Okay, maybe not. That's not. It might be the lightness, but anyway, I'm looking. You can sort of see that. That's what I'm looking for in brass, like, and especially high brass. Okay, I'm also looking at that overbite, and when I select my students. So then, where are these muscles? Well, I'm not going to use that whiteboard. So the muscles are our straw muscles. Okay, I just had a straw here, and there it is. All right, and so I have the students open their mouth, and I teach them to open their mouth from the hinge. You drop your jaw like an elevator. Now, can you open your mouth other ways? Yeah, you can do other things too. But you drop your jaw like an elevator. Okay? Relax your tongue. Put the straw over your tongue. Close. And snug the straw with these center muscles, which are our straw muscles. And I want there to be a snug. And I go around and I tug on their straws. And they should not slide out. And their teeth should not be touching the straw. That's another mistake we make using straws. Their teeth have to be, that's how I get their teeth to be open. I'm not big on thinking about the teeth a lot. I always want them behind the lips. There's my embouchure. Now I can say, pizza. I go, ah, close my top lip. Pizza. Try, if you had a straw, you can try that. All right, pizza. Now, hold your hand in front of your lips and say, pizza, pizza, pizza. Say it loud, pizza. Now say pizza. And I noticed that Bennett used poo, to. Way to go, Bennett. All right, I think that the POO for flute and brass is the ligature. These muscles right here. And so I like them doing like little pips. And that's good for flute for a little while. I don't want the lips so tight on flute. Okay, I want loose. I bet Ebony talked about loose lips. Okay, did she talk about loose lips? Yeah, trumpet and flute is not the same. My lips are touching my teeth. They are. Okay, now when I do that, if I do it on my mouthpiece, I'm just going to do, I don't know if you'll hear this or not. Okay, and I don't want anything to move. Nothing moves out here. And that's a secret. If you can get your trumpet players to do poop, 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 I call them poops or pips. It depends what, and with trumpets it's probably poops. With flutes it's probably pips. You get that part, but I don't want to see anything move here. If you go to my Facebook, you're going to see I have a lot of recordings of people who are playing trumpet, and they are playing all over the register, and they are not moving anything out here. If I pick the right kid for trumpet that has the right anatomy, physical features, I can teach them how to play up to a high C without you ever seeing any tension out here. Trumpet isn't not for everyone. It really isn't. And neither is flute. And that's why I have those two instruments here today, and I have some clarinet stuff too. But it's because, think about this. The brass, they go on your mouth, right? The flute goes on your mouth. Other things go in your mouth. So there's a little more opportunity for success. But the orthodonture and the where everything is very significant. So now there's my pip. Now I Wifrud, after seeing Wifrud do some clinics, I take off the tuning slide, okay? Now so I can do it. I'm going to show you two ways here. So I'm going to do the pips just on the lead pipe. I almost can't vibrate here. Got it? Okay. So then I also can use this. I can also use boba straw, or I can use Ross. He mentioned Ross. Ross is my student, and Ross uses a plastic tubing. So here's and that's all I do. Okay. Nothing moves. That's the secret sauce. If they're going moving things around, it's got to be. That's why it's so teeny weeny and it's so detailed. All right, now I tell them your top lip is the garage door. The bottom lip stays in place like the garage floor, doesn't move. All right, now you're gonna go poo with your air, poo, and blow. That's the next step. So, but you start with a POO, and then you're gonna lower your bottom lip and find, top lip. You're gonna lower your top lip, which is the garage door, and find where the sound lives. And this is, honestly, I love this. It's so easy on this. Now this is a little more resistant. And that's an E natural, by the way. And that's the first note I have him play is E natural. Not C. I don't like C. Kids get stuck on C. They get stuck on C because they're not playing it correctly. Their lips are, it's not working in here. So I teach a small aperture. Does Ebony teach a small aperture first? Yes. Claire taught me that. She said, Lynn, develop the small aperture. Okay. And she's my flute teacher, not even my brass teacher, but I went, hey, that's the same thing. They work the same. So then I have them, after I teach them this stuff, and if you come to my clinic, our clinic at TBA at 11 o'clock on Thursday, we'll be talking about all this other stuff, but I want to talk mostly about this. I do air to natural vibration. I don't want them to try to make a note. I want them to find the note. Then, eventually, we put the lead pipe on, and they're going to put down 1 and 2. They're going to try to find the note on the lead pipe, or on the full horn. And that's their first note. All right. So that would be on trombone. I would do a D. Okay. And I like D. I just like D because it makes the trombone, instead of all being here, it's out here now. It's more balanced, and they like that note. Euphonium D, tuba. That's a whole nother story. Listen to Bennett Parsons about that. I don't start the tubas. I like what he does with that. And so I'm not going to get to tuba because don't start it the same way. I do not do mouthpiece buzzing, but with tuba I do. Like he did that mouthpiece buzzing, and that's what we use with tuba. So, but not, I don't do it with French horn and the other instruments, not in the beginning at least. So that first note is E. Now you know that E is a little bit of a sharp note, right? And so I let it be sharp because I want to lift my valves up and go to G. And I can always tell when a kid's going to go up there. I pick the kid and I show the class. We demonstrate it, and then I plant the seed for what we're going to do next. We're going to lift our valves up, and we're going to see if G is waiting. And after they get to G is not a sharp note, but we go to A. So the first 3 notes are E, G, A. And then I can build. I can play in, you know what I can play? In E flat concert instead of B flat concert. Now I'm going to tell you another thing about beginners. Don't, people who try to get them to play in the same pitch, the same concert pitch together, I just don't agree with that, because I just think there are some notes that are better to start on, like on flute. Some books start on high F or D, and I don't believe in that. I think the note that you start on decides what the progression of the notes you teach and what key you're going to be playing in. So I would prefer that they play an E flat concert at the beginning for the trumpet than in B flat concert. I want to develop the small aperture. After A, once they get A, we go up to C. We haven't played low C. We may have played low C, but very sparingly. We just go up to C. And then we have now all those notes are in the B flat overtone series, right? C, B, B flat, A flat, G. No, then it starts G, G flat, F, E. Okay, so they're in two. But what I say is that when I play these notes, they're like a fulcrum. We're not going do 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 do. You're going do 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 do. Does that make sense? They're close together, and they're close together because of the small aperture. Your kids will be able to play high. I will guarantee. I mean, I've done this long enough, and I know my kids, because they're all in college, or they're married and have children now, or they're in college. But my kids who really took their instruments seriously, had a lot of range. Braces are another story, and come to our clinic for that. We're going to talk about braces. But braces, they're a problem for sure. All right, now, so now I'm running out of time already, but I want to go to flute now, and because the things that I see in the classroom, and remember, I mean, I'm a classroom teacher, always have been, and so I see a lot of kids at once. But the thing about flute is that I think flute and trumpet are the two most poorly taught instruments. Flute for sure. And so you've got to listen to what Ebony says about the lips. The lips do not touch the teeth when you're playing the flute. And we use the same muscles, P-O-O. You see how flexible I am here, how it's sort of puffing out a little bit? I like that. I want my kids to do that. Exactly what I'm doing for trumpet, except I'm letting my lips go forward. Now, here's what Helen does. And maybe Ebony showed you this. She has the kids stick their bottom lip out like this, stick it way out, and lays it on their finger. Then pull your corners down to touch the headpiece. It's wonderful. Then, not poo, but then I have them pip. You lay it there, pull the top lip down. Okay? All right, Cliff is here. I'm nervous now. All right? Now, do you see this? It's wrong. It's just not going to work. Our air has to be like an arrow. It has to go this way. It can't go this way. We've got to direct it. Take a look here. Brass players have that tiny little hole. That's where their air needs to be directed, particularly for the high brass instruments. So if they're going and blowing like a banana air, how does that fit this? In my opinion, it does not. It's about physics. It's about efficiency, just like our bodies are about that. You know, when your body doesn't work right, I had knee replacement. It was very hard to walk. Not just my knee hurt, everything hurt because I was out of kilter, you know. That's the way instruments work. It's a group science project. And we have to be detectives. We have to figure out, why does that kid sound like that? A lot of time it's their tongue, guys. Just tell them, relax, say ah, and blow over your tongue. Now play the same note that way. You do that, you're going to be really happy with that. Now the other thing about flute is that we don't hold the flute. We really don't hold the trumpet. And come to my clinic for that. We're going to talk about that. I'm doing this with Jared Dodd and Kenny Capshaw. We've had a bunch of fun doing this. The title of the clinic is called The View, based upon the show on the morning. So we're Whoopi and all of those people. So all right. So I'm going to back this up a little bit. So the flute is a front instrument. Okay. So here's mine. Pretend I'm playing the clarinet. B, A, G, F, E, D, okay? All right, the front instrument. Now watch what I'm gonna do. First of all, I teach my kids to do this. I teach them to keep their shoulders just like this and turn their heads. Now, right there, notice that I did not change. My body looks just like a clarinet player's body. My head does not. That's what's different, all right? So I'm holding it like this. I turn my head, and I'm going to push my flute straight out so that my left hand is in the center of my body, and my right hand is across from my right shoulder. Then I'm going to turn toward the flute aperture, and I'm going to bring it in. Now that's how we play the flute. And look where my hands are. Look where the flute is. It is not over here. When I do that, look at my shoulders. Okay, that's where my shoulders are now. So it's very important because what happens if we do this? We're no longer free blowing, even if our head is in the right place. We're constricting the air. All right, so here, straight out. Turn your head, bring the flute in. Now, when I'm in band, I have to move so that I'm facing front. So my knees and from my waist down is facing towards the corner of the room, and my head is towards the conductor at the front. Okay, so now this is how we play flute. All right, and I love playing flute. And so let's talk about high notes, because I'm running out of time. High notes are the same for flute and trumpet. They're the same. And don't say firm your corners. I don't say that. But you can say it. You can say whatever you want. But don't say firm your corners. I want them, like, after they learn to make this small aperture, they really get it. And I want them just to keep the aperture small for the high notes. Now, think about a garden hose. You turn it on. Let's say it doesn't have anything at the end of it. It's just a regular garden hose that you bought. Okay, you turn the water on. The water's going, let's say it's going 5 miles an hour. Okay. When it comes to the end of the hose, it's a big stream that goes like this, right? Now, if I do the thing where you cover the end of the hose, everybody's done that. We used to drink out of the hose that way when we were kids in the 1950s. Have you changed the speed of the water? No, the water's still 5 miles an hour. It comes to that small aperture, and guess what? Psst, there it goes. So I don't blow fast air. I don't blow fast air for brass or for flute. Now, you're talking to somebody who took bassoon lessons for 2.5 years when they decided that they would teach at SMU, and the class was double reeds. I ran out, found Herman Vogelstein, an amazing teacher, and I took bassoon lessons for 2.5 years. That air is fast. Because why? You're blowing against a tree, not just this little soft portion of your lip. So I teach fast air for clarinet, saxophone, flute. No, sorry. Clarinet, don't know flute. Clarinet, saxophone, bassoon and oboe. Fast air. We have to make a tree vibrate, okay? Now, and again, when I play the clarinet, notice that that my corners are towards the air. But nothing moves out here. I'm not doing this. The two secrets that I've shown you today are the ones about nothing moves out here. That's a big one. And sometimes when my kids are struggling and they're moving around, they all have mirrors. I just say, all I want you to do, I want you just to try to make the poo inside the mouthpiece or the vibration inside the mouthpiece and not move anything. And some of them they'll be moving around, and all of a sudden they'll figure out how to control their muscles and not do it. And I've saved so much time with them because they did it on their own. That's something I let them do. I let them try to do. Most everything else, I manage a lot of stuff. All right, I manage a lot of things. But but with flute is the instrument, aside from tuba, those two instruments in the band hold the least resistance. All right, obviously oboe holds the most resistance, but you've got to think. Look how the flute aperture can get very wide. It can get as wide as this tone hole, but it should never be wider than the tone hole. And when we want to play lower notes, we direct our air more straight down. All right, when we want to play higher notes, the air goes more like this. And if you get a Pneumopro, that's a really useful tool to have for flutes. All right, so now going back, okay, so what are the other two things that I develop? I start right out developing, the last thing I develop with the brass, with my trumpets, is air. I'm using the least amount of air to find a vibration. In fact, I give rewards for kids who can play it the quietest. Except I don't really use the mouthpiece. I would do it on this. If they're hardly using any air at all, because I know they have found where the sound lives, and I want them to develop this before they develop the air. Now, am I like 100% right? I don't know. Can you do it another way? Yeah. If it works, you should do that, right? But if it sounds terrible and your kids can't play high, you got to maybe think about some of the things that I'm saying, or some of the other things that, like Whiff says, or or Bennett says, But okay, so so I develop the body, the face, the mind. I want critical thinking. I want this to feel like a class they've never had before. And I want there to be critical thinking. And I use that mostly the way I teach literacy. I do not, telling is not teaching. It hasn't been taught until a student can learn and use the information that they have received. So that's one of my quotes from Claire: use your information. If you are telling, sometimes I go around every day and I look at their hand position and I tap them if it's right. And then I move on. I don't say anything. I tap them. Tap. If they get the tap, it's right. If they don't get the tap, they have to figure out what's wrong or what they need to correct. I don't like the word wrong. What they need to correct. And then I look at them and say, use your information. I don't say, oh, your left hand is doing this, or your right hand. I said, no, use your information. And I see if they can figure it out. And I tell them, go ahead and look at your neighbor. Be a copycat. be a copycat. You have permission. And because the more independent that we can be with our learning, the better. Number one, the more we're going to like school, and the better we're going to be. Because you know what? In the end, what do we have? We have us. We have ourselves. What's the most important thing we have? Time. Time is our most important thing. And the way we use it, the way we choose to use it is very important. When you get as old as me, those things become really important. Okay. All right. So, okay, the mind. Number 4, the heart. I want, like, I play for my kids. I play on my own instrument. I do not play on the instrument I'm teaching unless I am just really darn good on it. I'm pretty okay on flute, but I don't know. I play on my instrument. And if I'm going to play Mary Had a Little Lamb, it's Mary had a little lamb. I'm going to play with phrases. I'm not going to go, Mary had a little lamb. Mary had a little lamb. Wasn't Mary had a little lamb. Does that make sense? I start doing phrases with them. Mary had a little lamb from the very beginning, developing that. I want them to play beautifully. And I use words like that was beautiful. That was gorgeous. That sound really moved me, and tried to get to their hearts. Because you get to their, if when they trust you, and if you get to their hearts, you're going to get to their minds. They're going to listen to you. Why did I stay in music? Because I loved how it made me think. How it made me what it felt like to when my teacher, Mr. Reed, put an etude in front of me at my private lesson, which was $2, by the way, and I ran home in the snow up to here in Michigan. My dad only took us to school one time. Okay, and I ran home and I opened up that Sigmund Herring etude book. And I'm playing this whole book. And I could read music. I was an independent learner. That's what our kids, I don't care what the class is. Once you become an independent learner in that class, like I loved math also. And it's so captivating and engaging. And that's the secret. The hook is not donuts and a pizza party. The hook is, I'm really good at this. It makes me feel good to be so good at this. And I don't really look at them and say, you're really good at this. I praise them, but I want them to acknowledge it first. That, I'm pretty good at this. Yeah, you're right. You are. So I think, is Greg there?
Yes, I am.
Um,
We have a few questions if you're okay with taking them
oh
now.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Hi,
Okay.
Alfred. I see Alfred too. He's drinking something.
So one of the questions says, when do you move to unison playing with beginners, and how do you address over/underbites?
How do I address what?
When the student has either an overbite or underbite.
Yeah, I just have them manipulate it so that they can get an underbite is really hard. Especially for trumpet, and we started a student. He's still playing. He's going to be in 8th grade, and he has an underbite, and it was really hard for me to get him started because the air's going like this, and the instrument's going like this, and but okay, let's go back to the other question. So I think you've got for those instruments, you have to find the instrument that fits them. If they have a really big pronounced overbite or an underbite, you've got to say, okay, we've got to find the right instrument for you. And you got to try them on everything because it is consequential. It does matter. All right, so now Playing in unison. Well, like for instance, the notes that I like on bassoon are what? F, E, D, C, right? Those are, so that's F concert. Well, um, so in bassoon and oboe class, in double reed class, I have them play in fifths forever. They play in fifths, so that we're doing fingers, not unisons. Because in my, I have taught for 56 years, and only 6 of those years have I ever taught in like instrument beginner classes. All other 50 were in heterogeneous classes. So yes, getting them on the same note, but it took a long time because I let them, because we're doing fingers. How else am I going to teach them? I can't teach every little fingering. I'm going to teach thumb one, two, thumb one, three, and so on. I'm going to teach those notes first. So it's a cacophony of sound. But when they're ready, you start to, it's usually by second semester, and you start to shift um, to unison notes, and you start to shift certain people. Like on oboe and bassoon, okay, I'm trying to remember the first note that they play in unison is probably F. But see, on oboe, it's down here, and on bassoon, it's right up here. So, so it's, but that they can play F, yeah. But I also teach them to play fifths, and to be in tune on it, and to listen, and teach them how to hear a fifth. What does a fifth sound like? And now you can use your tonal energy for that and that kind of thing. So, but you got to do what's best for the kid in the situation that it is. You know, trying to put a square peg in a round hole is not the way to teach musical instruments. It really isn't, because you think you should be doing it. No, you got to do, like, look where you are and then figure out the sequence that you're going to use. Figure it out. Don't let a book figure it out for you. You figure it out. And that's another thing that why I love teaching so much, and I'm still doing it, is because I'm still figuring a bunch of stuff out. I'm still learning stuff every day. And um, so that's what I would say about those things. The overbite underbite thing is tough. Sometimes you just put them on. You just see if they're adept at percussion. Honestly, because they could end up being just monsters, on those instruments, especially if they're serious students. So uh, in double bassoon works really well. Also, if the underbite is big. Not oboe though. Well, I don't know about oboe. Okay. All right.
So we got time for one more question, but I'm going to ask you two questions in this one question
Oh, good. Okay.
because they're from two different people. One question is, do you think the flute should go on the conductor's left or right side, and if you have a preference? And then the other question is, you talked about the mechanics of the flute posture being relaxed and efficient. How do you modify that for marching band posture?
I don't know. Give everybody a piccolo, and then everything's going to be fine. That was Claire's suggestion, because, well, you have to. I mean, for marching band, they're gonna do. So at Berkner, I'm still over there, and when we're inside, and we're sitting down. We have seated posture, marching band posture. They have to, and when they're playing their marching band music inside, seated, unless they're marching and marking time, they are sitting like real flute players. That's our rule, right? And then because we cannot spend the first semester letting that be absent from their pedagogy. It's got to be a part of their pedagogy at some time, someplace in the concert band setting. Always play as real flute players. All right. So what was the other question?
um, oh, do you prefer the flutes to be seated on the conductor's left or right side?
Well, I mean, I've always had really good flutes, so I seat them on my left so that they're facing out. But it just depends. The seating thing is tricky. I like all my conical instruments brass to be together. I like all my cylindrical brass to be together. I like the trombones and the trumpets be like feeling that z sound, that you don't get all the time on the French horn or the euphonium. So I like to put those instruments together um, in my setting. But I think I like the soloist to be on the outside for unless you just have a real reason to have them on the inside. But I say my flutes have always been on the left side as I look at the band, my left.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Lynne, for being here with us today. We are so appreciative for you sharing your knowledge with us. Okay.
All right. Well, it was my pleasure. And you can call on me. Thank you, Charlene. You can call on me. Hi, Cliff. I see Cliff now, finally. Okay. All right. And you can call on me anytime to help Greg, honestly. I'm really interested in helping people and people who just love teaching and are serious about giving their kids the best experience possible.
Well, thank you so much again.